Listen-only mode.
Hi, everybody. Apologies for getting started a couple minutes late here. We had some technical difficulties on our end, but hopefully we are all set now. I want to welcome all of you guys to this webinar. I'm Samantha Watson. I'm the founder of the SAMFund for Young Adult Survivors of Cancer, which I'll tell you a little bit about as we go. But today I want to, first of all, welcome all of you and Meghan Rodgers, Lisa Eatough, and Pam Gabris, who I will tell you more about a little bit later, but they've all joined us to share with you some information about their programs. And it's our hope that in today's webinar you'll get information about programs and organizations you might not have known about otherwise. And we hope that you'll leave today feeling empowered to take the next step towards finding that money for college that you're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and show my screen. You should be seeing our first slide now with the name of this webinar, which is Moving Forward with Your Financial Health, Undergraduate Tuition Assistance. So welcome, everybody, and we'll jump right in. So presumably everybody on this webinar knows why we're here today. It's because cancer is expensive, and so is college, and we get it, and we want to help you take that next step towards finding the assistance that you need so that you can figure out how to make it all happen. So when you've gone through cancer as a young adult especially, we all know you have residual medical bills, you have ongoing medical bills, you have the prescription copays that add up every month. Most of us have no money left in our checking or savings accounts, and the health insurance premiums for people with a cancer history are astronomical. So all of that put together makes cancer a very, very expensive disease, which is something most people don't realize. Most people do realize, though, how expensive college is. Tuition is just one piece of the puzzle. I know that there are many schools now with tuitions upwards of $40,000, $50,000, even $60,000 a year. In addition to that, you have room and board, because whether you live on campus or off campus, you need to sleep and you need to eat, and all of that costs money. School books also have astronomical costs associated with them for some unknown reason, but it makes the experience of being a student a very, very expensive one. On average, the total yearly cost at a private four-year college today is very close to $30,000 a year. And with the state of our economy and the fact that cancer is as expensive as it is, it's a tough pill to swallow. And so we know that cancer is a family affair. We know that even if you are the one who went through cancer treatment, it's likely taken its toll financially on your entire family too. And if families' funds are depleted after cancer treatment, there's not a whole lot left, if anything at all, to pay for college. But there's hope. There is support out there. There are amazing organizations out there. We have 3 of them represented here today, and there are a lot more out there that we want to be able to share with you as well. And so you just need to know where to find them, and that's what this webinar is all about. Before I tell you a little bit about our program and the other 3 programs that will be highlighted today, I also want to remind you guys that you can type in your questions to the box on your screen. Michelle, who's our program director, who's also on this webinar, will be fielding the questions as they come in. If you have questions for me or for any of our presenters as the webinar goes on, you can feel free to send them anytime. Some of them we will field during the presentation, and then we'll also have time at the end to answer some more. So feel free to send in your questions whenever they come into your head. So to tell you a little bit about the SAMFund, if you don't know, and to explain a little bit about our grants program, SAMFund was founded 10 years ago. We were created to provide financial assistance to young adults who are struggling after treatment. And so we have a grants program that now is 8 years old. We have awarded $900,000 in grants over the last 8 years to survivors across the country. And the eligibility requirements, there are only 3 of them. Historically, it's been that applicants need to be between 17 and 35, but I'm very excited to say that this year we've extended that up to 39. The downside is that this is the last year that the lower end of the age range will be 17. Next year it will be increased to 21 to 39 instead of 17 to 39. So even though we actually don't provide assistance for tuition itself, which I will explain, people between 17 and 20 are welcome to apply this year for other things. The second eligibility requirement is that you need to be a resident of the United States. And then the third eligibility requirement, which may look new to anyone who has followed our grants program in the past, and what we were trying to do was clarify what we meant when we always say you need to be finished with your treatment. So we've reevaluated that eligibility requirement with help from our medical advisors, and this is the new statement that we're putting out about eligibility for our grants. You need to either be free of disease or at least 1 year post the completion of your planned therapy or in remission on maintenance therapy. If you have any questions about whether or not you fit into that, any of those categories, you can feel free to email us at grants@thesamfund.org anytime, and we will help you figure it out. So the application process is a two-part process. The first part will be posted on our website on June 17th, and part one runs for about 4.5 weeks. It's basically an online form that shouldn't take you more than an hour or two to fill out. And what we're looking to do is just collect basic information about your cancer history, about your finances, about any income you may have coming in, and any expenses that you may be paying on a monthly basis. One important note, given the focus of this webinar and our audience, is that we're not interested in your parents' finances. We're not allowed to ask for it. We don't want to know about it. We're just asking about yours. And what we try and establish in the first part is how your current financial need is related to your cancer experience. So if you feel like you are struggling with something financially as a result of cancer, either you've been unable to work or you are just saddled with medical debt with no resources to pay for them, that's the link that our reviewers look for. So from there, Part 1 applications go to our reviewers. They usually select about half, more or less, to complete Part 2, and then Part 2 will run during August and part of September. And we'll go a lot more into detail about your medical history, about your finances, requires a lot of outside forms and other essays. So we give about 5 or 6 weeks for that. From there, it goes back to our reviewers. They make recommendations to our board. Our board approves them usually in early to mid-November, and final decisions are announced in the middle of November. So if you're interested in applying, you can email grants@thesamfund.org, or you can go on our website and join our mailing list, or you can know that you can just check our website on or after June 17th, and all the information you need will be there. So quick overview of what we will fund and what we will not fund. We will fund, it's actually quicker for me to go over the list of what we will not fund, and then we can fill in the blanks afterwards with what we will fund. The things that we won't fund are business-related requests, are repayments to friends and family, credit card repayment, and finally tuition assistance. And we basically will fund anything else. We'll fund living expenses, medical expenses, insurance premiums, copays, family building expenses. There's a pretty comprehensive list of things that we will fund, and we publish that on our website, so you can find that on our grants page as well. I want to just take a minute to explain why we don't fund tuition assistance and why we're hosting this webinar in the first place. So a few years ago, we realized that we were reading applications from people who were in college who had a lot of financial need related to the fact that college was expensive, but really needed much more help than we were able to provide. Our average grant size is about $1,500 to $2,000, and we found that in reading through the hundreds of applications every year, that money was going to go a lot farther towards helping somebody with their rent or even with school books or computers than it would towards a tuition bill. More importantly, though, and the reason for this webinar is that we realized that there's so many awesome organizations out there providing this type of assistance, and we don't want to reinvent the wheel, and we think of the whole community of organizations providing financial assistance as a collaboration. And so if other groups are doing that, then we'll focus on things that are a little bit different, and together we'll meet as wide a range of needs as possible. So one point of clarification, though, is that if you are an undergrad and you are struggling financially, you can certainly apply to us this year for things other than tuition. So if you need a computer, or you need help with school books, or you need help with living expenses or insurance or any number of other things that you personally are responsible for while you're in college, absolutely get in touch with us and feel free to submit an application. So again, if you have questions on any of this and whether you're eligible or whether you would be a strong candidate for a SAMFund grant, please feel free to email us anytime, and we'll help you think it through. So I mentioned that there were some awesome organizations out there that do provide tuition scholarships, and this is only a very, very partial list that you see on your screen right now. We also have the organizations that are represented here through Meg, Lisa, and Pam, and they're going to talk about their programs as well. So just a quick overview of a few that we know have either applications now or will be coming up in the near future. Ryan Mullally's Second Chance Fund, their application is posted now on their website, which is ryansecondchancefund.org. You can see it on the slide in front of you. Their application is due July 31st, so you do have some time to get that in. The Allman Cancer Fund for Young Adults provides tuition scholarships for college students, and their new application will be posted in early September. I don't know the exact date. That information I just took from their website. So I don't know exactly when, but sometime in early September. The Cancer Survivors Fund, cancersurvivorsfund.org, will be posted in February of 2014. The Nikki Leach Foundation accepts applications on an ongoing basis, and it can be found on their website. And then finally, the National Grace Foundation was a cool organization we found that we wanted to let you know about. They provide free counseling on college admissions and financial aid, both of which can be very overwhelming processes. So check them out if you need. I also just want to encourage all of you, if you have questions about these or any other applications that you find, contact the organizations directly. Usually they do a really great job of posting all of the information on their website, so take that first step and make sure you do your research. But if you have questions about specific eligibility or deadlines or anything else, contact them directly, because we're just providing them here as a resource to you. But we're not experts in their programs. We don't pretend to be experts in their programs, and we just recommend that you get in touch with them if you have questions. So as I mentioned, this is just a very partial list. We have a lot more on the resources list of our website, which is at the bottom of your screen now, the samfund.org/resources for young adult survivors /undergrad tuition scholarships. That's a mouthful. If you just go to our homepage, the samfund.org, you'll see a link to our resources list. We wanted to also let you know about a few other resources that don't necessarily provide scholarships themselves, but could provide really helpful information and guidance for you. The first is a website called frugaldad.com, and their website really provides a whole lot of information and tips for paying for college through loans and scholarships, tips for saving money, and other stuff like that. They also have some articles on finding less expensive options. So if going to a $30,000 or $40,000 a year school is just not feasible, they have some ideas for you to still be able to get a good college degree, but to take a different route to get there. And then they also have a section that has up-to-date news and policy info on things like student loans and tuition and other related information like that. finaid.org is a huge searchable database of scholarships, which is awesome. They partner with FastWeb, which is fastweb.com, and you're able to search a database of all sorts of different scholarships. Some are cancer-specific, some are not. I would recommend you look at both types, and I'll talk about that a little bit in the next slide. They also provide information about different types of student loans, and they try to demystify the financial aid application itself, because for anyone that has looked at one, nonetheless tried to fill one out, it is a very, very daunting process and a huge stack of papers. And a lot of times the tendency is just to throw them out the window and run the other way. But obviously, if you want to get financial assistance from a school or another resource, you have to do it. And so they try and provide the guidance to get you through that process. And then finally, scholarships.com has several different kinds of searches. They have a scholarship search, they have a college search, and they have a student loan search. So that's scholarships.com. So check them out too. So finally, before I turn it over to Meg, I wanted to just offer a few tips and strategies from the SAMFund. We have read thousands upon thousands of applications over the last 8 years, and we see the same things happen year to year, and we give feedback when it's requested, but we don't always have a chance to offer it. And we really do want to help applicants submit the strongest application that they can. So here are the tips that we have developed over the last few years based on what we've seen. The first is to be proactive. make sure you do your research, make sure you find out when deadlines are, and don't wait until the last minute. If an organization says that their deadline is Friday at 5, they mean it's Friday at 5. They're not going to give you an extension. You know, if they do it for one person, they'll have to do it for everyone, and we just can't do it. So don't wait until the last minute. This is your college you're talking about. This is your future you're talking about. So take the time to really be smart about this process and do the very best that you can. Spend the time writing a strong application, because I can guarantee you, having read so many of them, we can very easily and very quickly tell the difference between people who have spent time on it and people who have thrown it together in the last half hour before it's due. It's not to say that if you run out of time and have to rush through it, you won't get a scholarship or a grant, but I would say the chances are a lot greater if you spend the time making sure that the application you submit is the best possible reflection of who you are and why you deserve the award. So make sure you spend time reading through the application thoroughly. Make sure you qualify. Make sure you meet their eligibility requirements. Don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. So either reach out to the organization if you have a specific question, or have somebody proofread your application to make sure that your essays are well written and they make sense and your points are clear. Make sure you answer all questions honestly and directly. I can promise you that organizations take a tremendous amount of time creating their applications and their questions, because they're trying to elicit specific information. So make sure you give them the information that they want. Leave yourself enough time to edit, and again, ask someone else to proofread if you want another set of eyes on it. And make absolutely sure that you've included all the requested information and documents, because if you leave something out, if you forget to answer an essay question, or you forget to include an attachment, or whatever the case may be, there's a better chance that you're going to get disqualified and they're not going to read your application at all than that they're going to get in touch with you and let you know. Because it's just not feasible for the number of applications that most of these organizations receive. There's just not enough time to be able to do that individual outreach. So make sure you double check it and that you have all of the requested information and documents. Think outside the cancer box too. This is an important one, and I think for resources that I mentioned in the previous slide, like FinAid and scholarships.com, when you're looking for scholarships, yes, look to the cancer organizations first, because we get it, we understand why the need is so great, and we will do our best to help you. But if you think about it, when you're applying to a cancer organization, you're basically competing for an award against other people who have a cancer history. So it's not just your cancer history that's going to make your application stand out. You really need to go above and beyond to make your application stand out, as opposed to looking to other organizations, community-based organizations, for example, like a Rotary or a VFW, or other non-cancer organizations that provide financial assistance. If you're competing for an award against other 17, 18, 19-year-olds who, don't have a cancer history, your story is going to catch someone's attention, and it is going to make you stand out, because chances are good that you have been through a lot more than most of your peers. And so make sure you think outside the cancer box as well, because there is a good shot that you'll be able to find assistance through other organizations as well. And finally, don't get discouraged. The number of applications, I know just from the SAMFund that we received last year compared to what we were able to fund, was ridiculous. We weren't able to, meet the need in its entirety. We're not willing to start giving out tiny grants just so that we can help everybody who applies, because we really do want to make an impact. But as a result, we need to say no to a lot of deserving people, and it's terrible, and we hate doing it. But really, it has nothing to do with specific applicants and whether or not they're deserving. Everybody is deserving. All of you for being on this webinar are deserving, because you're being proactive and you're really doing your best to find the support that you need. And so, of course, you deserve a scholarship. Of course, you deserve that help so that you can put one foot in front of the other and pursue your college education. Unfortunately, organizations can't help everybody who apply. And so don't get discouraged. If you apply for a scholarship and you don't get funded, ask them for feedback. See if there was something in your application that maybe could have been a little clearer, and get some feedback so that you can submit a stronger application the next time around. And if they say they just didn't have funds to help everybody and they don't have more specific feedback, look elsewhere or think about applying a second time later on. Don't get discouraged. Don't give up. There is help out there, and you will find it. So I want to turn it over now, sorry about that, to Meg Rodgers, who is calling in from Asia. Thank you, Meg, so much. We know you're calling in the middle of the night. and we just appreciate you so much being here.
No problem.
By way of a brief intro, and then I will turn it over to you. Meghan currently serves as the president and chairman of the National Collegiate Cancer Foundation, which is an organization formed to assist young adults surviving with cancer as they pursue higher education. She served as an advocate for the Lung Cancer Alliance, lobbying congressional leaders to support the advancement of the lung cancer research public policy agenda. She's also served on the board of several nonprofit organizations, including the Allman Cancer Fund for Young Adults. Professionally, Meghan is the Director of Strategy and Finance for the Travel Channel and has an extensive background in finance, strategy, and business development. So, Meg, thank you so much for participating in this, and we appreciate the lengths that you've gone to participate. So I will turn it over to you now.
Okay, great. I guess, Michelle, can you just let me know if you can hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you. And
okay.
Now we can see your screen.
Okay, great. Well, I guess good afternoon to everyone. Good morning for me, calling in from Asia on a work trip. And thank you so much to the SAMFund for allowing us to join this webinar. We're always excited and happy to connect with other organizations, young adult organizations, and we certainly appreciate a lot of the referrals that we get from the SAMFund. So it's great to be able to partner with you guys on this. So just a little bit about the National Collegiate Cancer Foundation, NCCS. As Sam mentioned, our goal is to provide services and support to young adults who've been diagnosed with cancer. A lot of what our foundation, and I'll talk about that in a second, is founded on is your story of cancer survivorship and developing a positive and winning attitude throughout and beyond your experience. And to that end, we provide need-based financial support to young adult survivors who are pursuing higher education throughout their treatment and beyond. This includes both undergraduate, graduate, and vocational programs. We've even had some of our recipients be in seminary school as well as trade school, so we do not discriminate based on the level of education. So just a brief overview on our current program. We generally award $1,000 scholarships to young adults, and our general requirements, I'll go in a second, but it is important to note that we are one of the only national scholarships for young adults. There are a lot of great programs out there, but we do not have any specific requirements in terms of geography, states where you have to live. You just have to be a U.S. resident, or in terms of the types of cancer. So we serve all young adult cancer survivors across the United States. The number of our awards varies depending on our fundraising efforts, but generally we give between 15 and 20. I think this year we'll probably give upwards of 25. Our application cycle runs from March to May each year, so we've just ended the submission deadline for our scholarships and are in the process of reviewing applications, and we'll be notifying our award winners in the next couple of weeks. And in terms of what our application looks like, it does include 4 essays and 2 recommendations. And a comment about that, again, we're very much about looking at the overall story of cancer survivorship. So, we recognize that it can be enough dealing with cancer, particularly if you're in active treatment while pursuing education. So the tone of our essays is more about commitment to education, the impact that cancer has had on the individual, the story of cancer survivorship, as well as asking individuals to reflect on their experiences and provide advice to other young adults who may be facing cancer themselves. And we also ask for 2 recommendations. And one of those we ask for a peer, and those recommendations should really, both of them should really speak to the person that's writing the recommendations, experience with the individual, and the lessons that they've learned from that individual with respect to their cancer survivorship. So we take this actually very seriously. We get a lot actually out of reading the applications, and I really find that actually having a recommendation from a peer, so from a friend, a colleague, perhaps a significant other in a lot of circumstances, really provides a lot of light and context to an individual's survivorship story. So just a bit of A little bit of history, because we would not, NCCF would not be here without one individual. NCCF was founded in 2005 by Dan Wager shortly after he was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. At the time, he was a full-time graduate student studying for his MBA, and he really knew no one with cancer when he was diagnosed, let alone anyone his own age. He was 22 at the age of diagnosis. And so when friends and family offered to raise money to help him because he was in school, Dan instead took the funds and started a scholarship program for young adult cancer survivors, which is now NCCF. And I think in that first year they gave out 4 awards, and now we're up to 25. And he continued on and graduated from his MBA program despite going through treatments and radiation. Unfortunately, we lost Dan in 2009, but we still very much carry on NCCF as a labor of love. Really through his example, Dan challenged others to be very active in their own lives, to be proactive, to be a participant, to be accountable, and most importantly, to be willing to make a meaningful difference in the world. His mantra was Wager will win, so if you notice, if you visit our website or read through the application process, you will notice that we do reference having a will win attitude, and that's because Dan's favorite quote was, "Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you deal with it." He definitely lived every moment of his life that way, and it's this principle that we still use to guide NCCF all these years later. So we are very much connected in our history to the young adult cancer movement, as well as recognizing the importance of assisting cancer survivors in leading a normal life, and for many of them, achieving an education and graduating from college or graduate school is a huge part of actually leading that normal life. So in terms of our eligibility requirements for our scholarship program, must be right now in our current program a young adult cancer survivor or a current patient between the ages of 18 or 35. Obviously, if you're a high school senior and you're 17 and entering your freshman year, we do make an exception there. Must be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, and as I mentioned earlier, attending or planning to attend an accredited college, university, vocational institute. As I gave a brief overview as well, for our criteria, we look at 6 different points. One, as I mentioned, gave you a bit of an overview about displaying a will-win attitude with respect to your cancer experience, the quality of essays, financial need, overall story of cancer survivorship, commitment to education, and quality of recommendations. So we really do look at all aspects of the application based on these criteria, be it in the essays, the resume that is submitted, or the recommendations as well. So the best applications will really hit on all of these points and really shine across the full application process. So to kind of piggyback, I think Sam mentioned some of these earlier. She had great tips. I think everything that Sam said, I think we would certainly second. But just a couple other quick things, and then I want to pass it over to our other panelists, obviously. But I would say do a little research on the organization and understand their their mission. As I mentioned, for us, our history and our founder are very important, and we do provide information on Dan's story, as well as other context regarding the foundation. So I find that it really helps if people will do a little research on their own and understand what the organization is about, and then they can really hit on the points that will make for a strong application. Second, understand the application requirements. Again, at NCCF, we're not looking for a perfect resume or transcript. Almost half of our applicants are actually in active treatment, and so we really respect the fact that it's very hard to, deal with cancer, let alone try to go to school full-time, let alone, get, a 4.0 and have time to volunteer and other activities. So what we're really looking for is people's survivorship stories in their own words. It really does come off. You really can tell the applications that are very genuine and come from the heart, and that really tends to resonate with our scholarship review committee. So like I said, we don't want the perfect resume or transcript. We really do want to give survivors a chance to write their own story, and we really respond to that. Number 3, this seems kind of obvious, but write your own application. It's pretty evident when students, as these particular high school students, have their parents write their application. So again, we want to hear people's stories in their own voice, and we definitely can tell, and that definitely will be sort of a red flag and not be scored as highly. If the 4th point, if you're submitting a recommendation, obviously make sure the person that's writing it knows you well enough and can speak to the application requirements. So again, we sometimes see people have pretty strong applications, but then the recommendations are just a generic form letter about the person's sort of academic or activity achievements. And again, for us, it's really about that story of survivorship. So if the person is writing a recommendation for you and isn't aware and can't speak to the impact that cancer has had on your life, then it's not going to really stand out for us. The next 3 I think are really very simple, but follow the instructions. I think Sam mentioned this. If for example, if organizations require the application to be submitted in one package, make every best attempt to do that, because things get lost in the mail, and the worst thing is to have an application with missing pieces. Again, as Sam mentioned, it's very difficult for organizations, especially one like ours, who is a relatively small nonprofit and all volunteer, to be able to reach back out and try to collect those pieces of information. We do the best we can, but obviously we hope that people make it easy on us. And then the next point, obviously, submitting a complete application goes along with that. And then finally, as Sam said, meet the deadlines. For us, we try to be very flexible when we can, and we do allow people to submit scanned copies of scanned applications. So there's really no reason that you can't submit something on the last day or have it postmarked on the last day. So from our perspective in our program, those are just some tips for a strong application. And again, if you're sort of speaking directly for NCCS, we really are about survivorship, and I can't emphasize that enough. So again, we recognize that it's just enough for folks to be dealing with cancer, let alone trying to be in school and maintain all of those extracurriculars. So we want to know what people's, we really are looking for that survivorship story. And then obviously just a little bit of information about us, our email address and website, as well as phone number and address. And we are always obviously available for questions, and as well as trying to help other people connect with other great scholarship programs. Sam did a great job of listing some organizations that we currently partner with, but we're generally aware of other organizations and their deadlines, so we'll try to direct people appropriately. And one last, I guess, piece of information before I turn it over, that may not be appropriate for some of the folks on this call. We are very proud to announce that in 2014 we are going to be expanding our program and essentially doubling our efforts to be able to offer scholarships to young adults who have been affected by a parent with cancer. So there'll be more information on that, maybe not specific to the audience on this call, but just as a great resource to other people. We get a lot of questions on that and really saw a need, so we're happy to be able to announce that we'll be able to start making those awards in 2014. So thank you, everyone, for your time. And with that, I guess I'll turn it back over to Sam or Michelle.
Well, Meg, thank you so much for all of this information, and congrats on that new the new program next year. That's huge to be able to expand what you're doing and meet an even greater need. And I congratulate you.
Thanks so much.
That was awesome. So thank you again for participating, Megan. And I know everybody really appreciates having sort of an insider perspective, and I appreciate your honesty and all of your feedback on the application process from where you sit and from where the reviewers sit. So if there are any questions that anyone has for Meg, you can feel free to email us. We will forward them along, or contact her directly. The information is still on your slide right now on the screen, info@collegiatecancer.org. So Meg, thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Sure thing.
So now we're going to turn it over to Dr. Lisa Eatough, who's a physical therapist specializing in pediatrics. More importantly, she's the mother of a young survivor, and she's passionate about both survivorship and education. She understands the financial implications of pediatric cancer and does not believe that that should ever stand in the way of an education. She has found inspiration in her son and developed a vision that has transformed into a reality as the founder of College Beyond Cancer. So Lisa, welcome. Thank you so much for being part of this webinar, and we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you for the introduction, Sam. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. It is certainly a pleasure to be here today, and I thank all of you for participating. I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about College Beyond Cancer, which is a new resource available for college and graduate student cancer survivors. College Beyond Cancer is an easy-to-use online fundraising platform specifically for students who are pediatric cancer survivors. It provides them with the opportunity to proactively raise funds for their college expenses. So in order to post a fundraising campaign on the site, students must be at least 18 and enrolled in college. And additionally, because the website was designed with pediatric cancer survivors in mind, students must have been diagnosed with cancer by the age of 21 in order to be eligible. The website is meant to be an adjunct to traditional college financing options, such as scholarships and loans. There are organizations, including those represented here today, that have established fantastic programs for student survivors to assist with the management of the overwhelming expense of college. It is an unfortunate reality that many students and their families who have faced childhood cancer often find themselves at a financial disadvantage when it comes time to finance college. So my vision is that this website will be a unique resource that provides an opportunity to bridge the gap between what students and their families are able to afford in conjunction with their financial aid packages, including the scholarships, and the present cost of college. One of the things that makes College Beyond Cancer different is that students can fundraise for any expense related to their college experience. So this includes the more obvious expenses that we typically think of, including tuition and room and board. But it can also include such things as the expenses related to a summer experience or loan debt that has been accumulated in prior college years. There are multiple components to a student's campaign profile, with the most important being the profile questions. These questions were designed to give students the opportunity to tell their story and inspire their readers and potential contributors. The series of questions were developed and structured in a particular sequence that lends itself to helping students quickly and easily develop their story. It also helps students to establish a sense of authenticity and commitment. In addition, there are a few options available during the process of profile development to enhance one's campaign. So, for example, students are able to utilize photos and video in their profile if they choose to, in order to help potential contributors get to know them and to put a face with a name. It is definitely recommended to include photos and video in the profiles, as those are typically more compelling and successful. And it is an easy process, and for most, the media can be uploaded right from your phone. In addition, students have the option to put together a team if they so choose. So this provides an opportunity for those that feel more comfortable with a team of people behind them, be it parents, siblings, or friends, to have that sense of support. Also, having a team can be useful in keeping the profile actively networked during the campaign itself. Finally, there is an opportunity to promote perks, which are designed to encourage donations at certain levels in a fun way. So we've all seen perks utilized on national telethons where, for example, if you donate $25, they will send you a coffee mug. Or if you donate $50, they will send you a T-shirt. It can be a fun and interactive way to run a campaign for those that have a creative side and choose to. Developing a profile is a very straightforward process and certainly not any more time-consuming than it would be to complete a detailed scholarship application. So here's a screenshot of a campaign page. You can see where the video is inserted with a picture or pictures next to it that can then be clicked on and viewed. And additionally, you can see on this particular screen the beginning of the student's profile questions and answers just below the video. And then off to the right side of the screen, you can take note of the campaign duration timer, as well as the campaign goal and progress towards that goal to date. So once a student's profile is complete and goes live on the site, efforts shift to networking their fundraising campaign page, which requires a minimal commitment of time and effort. The social networking tools, including Twitter, Facebook, and email, pretty much anything you could think of, are all built directly into the page, so it's very easy to spread the word quickly. The idea is to start by letting friends and family know that you are raising funds for college and to not only ask that they consider making a small donation, but maybe more importantly, that they then spread the word about the campaign to the people they know. The hope is then that the campaign page will be networked out to multiple tiers of people, eventually allowing students to not only accumulate lots of small donations, but also to see the kindness and generosity of strangers who have been inspired by their profile. Once a profile is live, helpful hints and suggestions are provided to each student to help guide the fundraising process, and I am certainly always available as a resource. For the most part, donations are considered in-kind gifts and are not tax deductible, and the process of giving and receiving donations is easily completed through an integrated third-party payer called WePay, which is very similar to PayPal, but is more user-friendly for both people that want to contribute to a campaign as well as for the students. There is a nominal fee associated with the website that is deducted from each donation prior to the transfer of funds to the student. So for example, a donation of $100 would have a fee of just less than 39 cents deducted prior to the transfer. I hope that you will find that College Beyond Cancer can be a useful service to you or to someone that you know as one of the various financial resources available to help make a college education financially feasible. So please feel free to contact me with any questions at all, and I thank you so much for your time. And
Lisa, thank you. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say thank you, Sam and Michelle, for having me.
I just got so excited as you were talking about your program because I'm thrilled that you were able to be on this webinar because what you're doing is not only brand new, but just so critically needed. And for anyone who's listening to this webinar who may think, oh my God, I can't ask my friends and family for money, all of us who have been through cancer, I suspect, have been supported by people, friends of family members and family members of friends who, while you're in treatment, say, what can I do to help? How can I make it easier? And a lot of times when you're in treatment, the answer is nothing. There's not a whole lot that people can do to take some of the stress off. But I think what you're doing here, Lisa, is giving people a very concrete way to help. And, small donations add up. And so, for anyone listening to this webinar that might be considering College Beyond Cancer as a fundraising resource, use it, do it. You never know until you ask, and I think you'll be really surprised by how generous people are and how much they truly want to help you. Because I think that watching someone go through cancer, especially as a young person, is horrendous. And knowing that you can do something to make it a little bit easier for them in this way would be really well received. So thank you, Lisa, so much for sharing this resource with us.
Thanks, Sam.
So I'm going to turn it over now to Pam Gabris, who joined the National Children's Cancer Society in February of 2007. She is the coordinator of the Beyond the Cure Survivorship Program, which is designed to educate survivors of childhood cancer, as well as their families and professionals in pediatric oncology on survivorship issues. In 2008, the Beyond the Cure Ambassador Scholarship Program was introduced. And with that, Pam, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate having the time to share information about our program. The mission of the National Children's Cancer Society is to improve the quality of life for children with cancer and their families worldwide. The Pediatric Oncology Program is for families that have a child in the U.S. with cancer that meet our organization's guidelines. The Pediatric Oncology Program supports families by covering a portion or all of the cost of items related to their child's treatment, but not covered by insurance or other support programs, including such things as health insurance premiums, when the parent providing coverage is on a leave due to child's treatment, travel to and from the treatment center, lodging while away from home, out-of-pocket expenses such as meals and nutritional supplements, and non-covered medical expenses. Through the Beyond the Cure Survivorship Program, we offer web-based support that includes the late effects assessment tool to prepare survivors for potential medical issues they may face after treatment is ended, educational programs such as free web conferences for survivors, their parents, or guardians, and professionals, print material, We have a parent and young adult guide, and then our college and vocational scholarships. Through our global outreach program, they help coordinate worldwide distributions of donated pharmaceuticals and medical supplies to healthcare facilities in less developed countries throughout the world. The Beyond the Cure Ambassador Scholarship Program, as mentioned in the introduction, we started that in 2018. Since then, we have awarded 115 scholarships and have totaled an award of $366,000. Each year we have been able to increase the number of scholarships we award, and the amount can vary from anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 a year depending on the funding we receive. We also, the program, being a pediatric cancer organization, the program is available for childhood cancer survivors who were diagnosed before the age of their 18th birthday, and we award them up to the age of 25, or under the age of 25. And they have to be a citizen of the United States and accepted into an accredited college, trade school, or graduate school. I know at the time of application we frequently have applicants ask what if they haven't been accepted into a program as of yet. It's important they let us know where they're at in the application process, and that when the funding is awarded that they know where they have been accepted in the school. In the application process, it usually opens the 1st of January, so in January 2014 our next program will open, and it's open till the end of March. And again, we ask for general information. We require an essay, a doctor's note verifying medical history, 2 letters of recommendation, any history of volunteer service, financial information, and transcripts. We do review everything from the end of March, and usually our awards are announced the first week in July. Recipients can be awarded a scholarship for a maximum of 4 times, provided they meet the requirements. For those applying, like after a first year they've been awarded a scholarship, subsequent years they just need to complete an abbreviated application. The only time you'd have to fill out the original application is if you dropped out of the scholarship for a year or 2 and are reapplying. We do have asked that recipients maintain an overall GPA of 2.5 to 4.0 and maintain a full-time status, which is 12 units per semester, and that they provide updates on their status throughout the year and complete up to 15 hours of volunteer service each year. And any time that there's health issues or we need to renegotiate these requirements, we ask for a doctor's note and discuss them on an as-needed basis as to what they need to do. The application process is competitive, and all requirements carry weight in our review process. And as it's been mentioned in the program, it's very important to complete a very thorough application and a strong application. I know students may be applying for several scholarships and completing a lot of different forms, and I would suggest to carefully complete each section of the application as instructed and follow the advice that's been given previously. And through the complete and strong application, we can determine our recipients. We ask that they are Beyond the Cure Ambassador, and that we point out that with the 15 hours of volunteer service, that it should promote the mission of NCCS, which is to improve the quality of life for children with cancer and their families worldwide. This service is completed during the school year that they're awarded funding. We work closely with the recipients, helping them to decide on the type of service. And I've found that working with them year after year that the childhood cancer survivors are very passionate about this cause and do find some type of service, and it's not a problem for them. thank you for this opportunity to share our scholarship program, and I'll be ready to answer any questions during the Q&A portion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pam. That was such helpful information, and hopefully everybody will check out the website and apply if they fit the eligibility requirements. So thank you so much for all of that information. So if we don't have any specific questions right now, oh, sorry, I think I just accidentally closed my screen. There we go. Sorry about that. I'll just leave it at this because you have all the links that you need. Before I go over the links that are on your screen right now, hold on, I'm going to get back there. There we go. I want to just take a couple minutes to address a couple of questions that we had come in from participants before the webinar. We have some really great people in our SAMFund network who either work in financial aid or are connected to higher ed in some way, and we're able to provide insight and guidance to us in response to some of these questions. So I'm going to pass along the feedback that we got to some of the questions that you asked beforehand. So one of the questions that we got was about what happens if your credit is shot. So if you have medical bills and either your credit is shot because of them or your parents' credit is shot because of them, are there any options available if you become ineligible for the typical student loans? And the answer we got was that yes, federal student loans are available to any student regardless of their or their parents' credit history or status. Parents, however, might be denied a Parent Plus loan based on poor credit history, in which case the student can access additional Stafford loans in the amount of $4,000 for a first or second year student and $5,000 for a third year student and beyond. Another question that we got was about whether someone other than a parent could be a co-signer on a private loan, so through a company like Sallie Mae or ones like it. And the answer is yes. Doesn't have to be a parent. Another relative, such as a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle, for instance, or even a friend can co-sign for most private student loans. However, these should only be pursued as a last resort after all other federal student loans and the Parent Plus loan are exhausted. So know that that's an option, but don't jump right to it. And then finally, I wanted to know if it was a good idea or a bad idea to contact financial aid offices directly. And the answer was absolutely. If you have questions about a specific school or a specific program and are not sure where to find the answer, just pick up the phone. And a lot of times it's going to depend on the size of the school in terms of whether or not someone is able to spend the time with you on the phone answering all of your questions. Sometimes at bigger schools, because of just the volume of students, full-time staff are not available to speak with students or parents most of the time because there's just too much to be done and not enough people to do it. However, you're always better off making an effort to talk to the financial aid office at the school that either you're attending or plan on attending. And most of their policies and their funding levels are specific to the school, so it's not information that you'll be able to find on the more generic website. You really will need to ask the direct question. And by contrast, if you have questions about how to complete a financial aid application or more sort of general information, stuff like that can usually be found either on the website or by anyone else that picks up the phone in the financial aid office. So in other words, if you don't have a financial aid officer or a manager in that department who can answer your questions, probably front desk staff or administrative staff can give you the info you need. So with that, I want to thank all of you guys for participating. On your screen right now, you'll see 3 different links. The first is the samfund.org/webinar. If you want a downloadable copy of this webinar so that you can reference it later on or go back to some of the resources and organizations that we mentioned, go back to our website, the samfund.org/webinar, and a recording of this will be posted within the next couple of days. We also ask all of you who either are listening to this live or listening to this after the fact to take a minute to complete the post-webinar survey at surveymonkey.com/s/tuitionpost1. We really do value your feedback. We keep using participant feedback and suggestions to improve this program and make sure that the information we're providing through these webinars and the topics that we're presenting on meet your needs as best as we can. And so please take a minute and give us some feedback and be honest. We have thick skin, we don't take it personally, and we really just want to keep strengthening this program as best we can. And finally, if you have ideas for future topics or any other feedback, or if you have questions for specific presenters that were on today's call, or anything else you want to tell us or ask us, feel free to email us anytime at webinars@thesamfund.org. So I want to thank you guys again so much for participating. I'm going to go ahead and close my PowerPoint. And if you have questions, feel free to contact us anytime. Good luck to all of you. This is no easy feat. I commend all of you for taking the time to be on this webinar and learn about these organizations. Again, I want to thank our awesome presenters, Meg, Lisa, and Pam, for taking the time out of their day to provide the information on their programs. And I hope that you all feel a little bit more confident, a little bit more informed, a little bit more empowered to take the next step and find the assistance that you need. So good luck and thanks.